The one thing that I firmly believe is the big thing that's coming up now is being really data driven and going into things like business intelligence, right? You know, it's nice that you know SEO and you know how to do, you know, Google ads, but can you analyze that data instead of just reporting the weather? We call it weather reporting. When you just have like a data set and you're like, okay, yeah, just about everywhere it's going to be hot, right? That's not what we're looking for, right? We want someone who could say, okay, you know what, in over here in January, we were doing really well, and then COVID hit, and we see this big sharp drop in data traffic or in traffic or in sales. What are we doing? What's our countermeasure to do that? And now we can see, hey, this is actually happening in these specific regions. We can only do that if we have the data backed it up, and it's so much easier to do that when you have it in the visualization. Being able to then take that visualization, put it in something like a PowerPoint or some type of presentation and say, okay, we noticed this trend starting here. Here's what happened at this point. Then the next slide is like, okay, we saw that happening. This is what we tried to do to fix it. This worked or it didn't work. And then you start digging in, and that's how you really start to tell that story. But let's say with our products, our products are primarily infrared and very technical, very B2B. And so a lot of what we're trying to do is create like a solution that shows where our products would be in like an entire process. And so doing that visually helps tell the story of, hey, you know, you need to measure temperature over here. This is the product you want to put over here. You want to measure this type of temperature here. Well, there's some problems here because it's a harsh environment. You're going to need like this special housing or something like that. Or over here, you need to scan multiple things at once. You're going to need this other housing that can rotate and do that sort of thing. So visualizing that stuff is really the most important part of that, and it helps reporting up to people who aren't as technical or just need the bigger story of things and not have to get into the nitty-gritty details. The first thing I look for, and this comes out usually in an interview, is critical thinking, right? It's hard to project that on like a resume and stuff like that, but the way that I see that initially draws my eye to that is when I see someone that says, okay, you know, I worked at this place, these are the results that came up, or this is how I affected change in this place, right? What I'll also look for is just, maybe you don't have the technical chops to really like do the hard calculations and things like that, but as long as you understand it, like, so if I go in an interview and said, hey, here's a chart, you know, tell me about what you see in this chart, right? What does this tell you about something like, you know, what's going on? It's really demonstrating that even if you don't have the full technical knowledge, that you understand it and you can roll with it. And you know, I find that you don't have to have all that stuff as long as you have someone that you work with that can get to the nitty-gritty translation. As long as you understand what it means and where the trend's going, then that's usually more than enough. A lot of people try to think that you can use social media to really generate a lot of leads and sales, and I don't necessarily agree with that, depending on the business, right? If you're selling stuff that's more retail based or kind of a lower price point, social media can probably work just fine. But for something like Fluke, where most of our products are at least, you know, a few $1,000s each, that doesn't really work very well in the B2B space. And so we always try to say, okay, you know, we're going after awareness when it comes to social media. We're looking at how many eyes have been on our ads or our posts and things like that. So what we really look at is we look at the types of interactions and engagements. So like shares, actual likes and things like that from people. We really try to dig deep into that stuff, but the basis is really more on the awareness more than anything else. And we understand that, and it's important to convince the management to understand that too, and make sure that they're on board.